Finding a variable's measurements. Here you can see the outline of the presentation. So the logic of measurement. The logic of measurement is familiar for us. We use it every day and comfortable with it. In doing research, we try to measure systematically some aspects of the world around us. To measure a variable, we need both a measuring instrument and units of measure in which to report variations in measures taken. Firstly, you should clarify the problem by defining the concept to be studied. Secondly, identify variables associated with each concept. Then select one or two variables for each concept. Thirdly, devise or select a measuring instrument for each variable. Then, firstly, you should select or devise units of measurement for each variable. Measurement in the social and behavior sciences. Measuring our observations is important for two basic reasons. First, measurement enables us to systemize and record our observations. Secondly, measurement helps us to communicate our observations more clearly. Without measurement, we cannot make clear and comparable statements. There are three basic techniques used by researchers in the social and behavioral sciences to measure variables. The first technique is observation. Researchers observe what is going on and record what they observe. The second technique used to measure variables is interviewing. The second technique used to measure variables is interviewing. In the interview, the researcher asks questions, someone responds, and the response is recorded. The third technique researchers use to gather data is to examine records and documents. Each of these techniques provides measurable, countable answers. One of the most basic techniques for gathering data is observation. To observe is simply to watch what happens. However, all observation, and particularly scientific observation, is guided by a question. Researchers don't just go and have a look, they are looking for something. What is looked for will depend in general on the hypothesis or the research objective. More, how to say, importantly, what the researcher is looking for is best determined before the observation is begun. For example, you are assigned the task of studying infant growth and development. As a good researcher, you decided to focus on growth, thereby narrowing the field of your research and keeping the study within manageable bounds. Further, you decided to study one infant for a period of 8 weeks. Your research objective was clearly stated as follows: to observe the physical growth of one infant over an 8 week period. You had also decided to use length and weight as the measurable variables by which to indicate changes in physical growth. Hence, the operationalized restatement of your research objective would be to observe changes in one, its length and weight over an 8 week period. You should ask yourself the questions as what concept was being studied, what variables were selected, how much each variable measured, in what units of measurement is variation in each variable reported, what data recording devices were developed. The key points in selecting in collecting data or finding variables measurements by means of observation. First one very handy way to do this is to devise an observation checklist. Second one, it may be important to have more than one person to do the observing. Thirdly, it takes practice to develop the skills of observation. Using interview schedules and questionnaires to measure variables. In an interview, the researcher asks the respondent questions in either a face to face situation or over the telephone using an interview schedule. A questionnaire is used when the respondent reads and answers the question separately from the interviewer. Questionnaires and interviews are often also used to assess the respondent's attitudes, values, beliefs, or opinions. The construction of a questionnaire to measure opinions, attitudes, beliefs, and values is much more complex than simply asking questions of facts. Examining records to measure variables. Content analysis is a way to examine records or documents or publications. Content analysis is very much like an observation study. In a content analysis, a checklist is developed to count how frequently certain ideas, words, phrases, images, or scenes appear. Published material is a storehouse of material for content analysis. Magazines, periodicals, books, novels, textbooks, all can be subjected to content analysis. Thank you for attention.